Welcome to a Dual Digest podcast where two friends dive deep into the topics that matter.
From technology and AI to science, history, and global trends, we break down complex ideas and make them easy to understand.
Whether you're here for insights, entertainment, or just some good conversation, we've got you covered.
Just remember, stay curious, question everything, and keep exploring the world around you. And remember, every great conversation starts with a curious mind. Let's explore together.
Make sure to follow and subscribe.
Welcome to your own personal deep dive, I guess you could say, into this crazy world of quantum computing.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because a lot of people think, oh, quantum computing, it's just faster computers, right?
Right.
It's not just faster computers, though. It's
Yeah.
like a whole different
Totally.
way of processing information. Like, imagine a computer
Yeah.
that could solve a problem. That would take a classical computer, you know, like the one sitting on my desk,
Right.
10,000 years.
Oh, yeah.
This computer could do it in, like, minutes.
That's the power of quantum computing.
Some, like, hypothetical, you know,
Yeah.
like, made-up thing.
Oh.
That's actually what Google's quantum computer, Sycamore, did.
Yeah, in 2019.
Back in 2019. So it's really kind of highlights the potential we're talking about here.
Well, the potential is immense.
Absolutely. And so to guide you through this kind of complex and always evolving field,
Right.
we're going to break it down into 7
Okay.
key areas, like what quantum computing is and how it's different from classical, where the technology is today, who's in the lead, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
The mind-blowing applications that it unlocks, the challenges that are holding it back,
Sure.
how quantum and classical computing might, you know, work together in the future, the ethical and societal questions, and then finally what the future holds for this game-changing technology.
Right.
So first, let's just start with the basics.
Okay.
Like, what is quantum computing?
Okay, so to understand quantum computing, I think it's really helpful to first understand the limitations of classical computers.
Okay.
And, you know, a classical computer is like your laptop,
Sure.
your smartphone, anything like that.
Right.
They use bits to process information, and a bit can either be a 0 or a 1.
Okay.
Like a light switch can be on or off.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, pretty straightforward.
So how is that different in quantum computing?
So in quantum computing, we use qubits.
Okay.
And a qubit can be a 0, a 1, or both simultaneously.
Wow.
And this is thanks to this crazy thing called superposition.
Okay.
So imagine a light switch that can be both on and off at the same time.
It's kind of hard to wrap your head around that.
Yeah, it is. It's a little bit of a head scratcher.
So it's not just about speed then. It's about, like,
Right.
the ability to be in multiple states at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this ability to be in multiple states at the same time is what gives quantum computers that huge advantage in certain tasks.
Gotcha.
And then to add to that, you've got this other crazy thing called entanglement.
Oh, yeah, entanglement. I've heard about that.
So entanglement is where you have two qubits and they're linked.
Okay.
So imagine two coins spinning in the air.
Okay.
And they're linked, so if one lands on heads, the other one instantly lands on heads too.
No matter how far apart.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter how far apart.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really wild.
It's almost like they're communicating faster than the speed of light.
Yeah, it's one of those bizarre quantum phenomena.
Yeah.
And that's what allows for even more powerful computations.
Okay, so you got these powerful qubits that can be in multiple states at once.
Right.
They're linked together in this spooky way.
Mm-hmm.
But who's actually building these things? Like, I imagine it's a pretty intense race.
It's a very competitive field. You've got major players like Google, IBM, Microsoft, all vying for the lead, and they're all taking slightly different approaches to building these computers. So Google, for example, you know, they made headlines when they claimed quantum supremacy.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
With their Sycamore processor.
Yeah, and that was the one that solved the problem in 200 seconds.
Yep.
That would have taken a classical computer, I don't know, like
Thousands of years.
thousands of years, right?
Yeah, something crazy like that.
It was a huge number.
It was.
So while the practical applications of that specific problem were debated,
Right.
it was still a really significant milestone, right?
Absolutely.
Improving that.
It proved the potential that quantum computers could outperform classical computers.
Okay, so where does, like, IBM stand in all this? Because they seem to be taking a bit of a different approach.
Yeah, so IBM is really focused on building commercially available quantum computers and making them accessible through the cloud.
Gotcha.
So they have a roadmap. They want to scale up to over 1,000 qubits in the near future.
Okay.
And that's a huge leap.
So it's not just about building the most powerful quantum computer.
No.
It's also about making it accessible, right?
Exactly. And then you have companies like Microsoft.
Okay.
They're pursuing a different path.
Yep.
They're betting on these things called topological qubits.
Okay.
And these are theoretically more stable and less prone to errors.
Gotcha. So it's a very diverse
Yeah.
field with a lot of different
Players.
and different approaches.
Definitely.
And it makes me wonder, like, what are the real world
Right?
applications of all this? Like,
Yeah.
is this all theoretical?
Sure.
Or are there things we can actually do with this today?
So there are a few things, and of course this field is constantly evolving.
Right.
But one of the most talked about applications is cryptography.
Okay.
So quantum computers have the potential to break the encryption methods that we use today.
Like all of them.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, everything from banking transactions to, government communications, everything's encrypted.
Right.
And a powerful enough quantum computer could potentially crack those codes.
So does that mean, like, our online security is at risk?
It's definitely a concern, but there's also a really interesting flip side to this.
Okay.
So quantum computing also offers solutions.
Okay.
So there's this thing called quantum key distribution,
Okay.
or QKD for short,
Okay.
and it uses quantum principles to create theoretically unbreakable encryption methods.
Wow.
So it's like this really cool...
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is.
You can break existing encryption,
Right.
but you can also create new ultra-secure methods.
Exactly, yeah. It's leveraging these unique properties of quantum mechanics.
That's fascinating.
It is.
So what about other applications?
Well, there are a lot...
What else can we do with this?
Yeah, the possibilities are pretty much endless, but let's focus on a couple key areas.
Okay.
So in healthcare, quantum computers could completely revolutionize drug discovery.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
How so? I'm really curious about that.
So imagine being able to simulate complex molecules at the atomic level
Okay.
to design drugs with incredible precision.
Wow.
So we're talking about new treatments
Okay.
for diseases like Alzheimer's, cancer,
Uh-huh.
and potentially even accelerate the development of personalized medicine.
That's pretty incredible.
It is.
I mean, we're talking about potentially curing some of the
Potentially, yeah.
most devastating diseases out there.
Yeah, that's the hope.
What about other fields?
So another really exciting area is artificial intelligence. Yeah, quantum computers can supercharge AI.
Okay.
So imagine AI systems that can learn exponentially faster
Wow.
than they can today
Okay.
and tackle problems that are just impossible
Right.
for even the most advanced AI today.
So we're talking about next level AI.
Yeah.
That could change everything from, like,
Yeah,
scientific research to just how we interact with technology in general.
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, and those are really just a couple examples. There's so much more. We're talking about materials, science, finance, climate modeling.
Wow. It's really starting to feel like
Yeah.
something straight out of science fiction.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
What about applications in fields like logistics or
And phew.
Okay.
Think about optimizing supply chains,
Uh-huh.
finding the best routes for shipping,
Okay.
even revolutionizing transportation with autonomous vehicles.
Oh, wow.
In energy, you could design more efficient solar panels,
Okay.
new types of batteries,
Uh-huh.
or even unlock fusion energy.
Fusion energy. That's what
Yes.
powers the sun, right?
Exactly.
I mean, we've been trying to figure that out for decades.
decades.
Is quantum computing the key?
It could be a crucial piece.
Okay.
Fusion energy requires controlling these incredibly hot charged particles called plasma,
Yeah.
and quantum computers could help us design and optimize the systems.
So it's like clean, limitless energy
That's the idea.
from the same process that fuels the stars.
It's pretty amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I have to ask, are there any downsides? Like, what are the
Yes.
challenges that are holding back this
Sure.
quantum revolution?
So the biggest challenge is the fragility of qubits.
Okay.
They are extremely sensitive to noise and any kind of environmental disturbances,
Gotcha.
which can lead to errors
Uh-huh.
in the calculation.
So it's kind of like
It's like,
building a house of cards in a windstorm.
yeah, it's a great analogy.
So keeping these qubits stable
Yes.
is a major
Huge hurdle.
hurdle.
We're talking about ultra low temperatures,
Okay.
sealing them from vibrations, any kind of interference.
Oh,
And then there's the whole challenge of error correction,
okay.
which requires a significant number of qubits
Uh-huh.
just to create a stable system.
So the hardware side of things
Yeah,
is a big challenge.
it is.
What about the software? Do we have the tools and the, like, expertise
That's
to
another
even program these things?
huge hurdle. Yeah, we need new programming languages,
Okay.
new algorithms, and we need a lot more skilled quantum programmers.
So it sounds like we're still in the early stages.
Yeah, relatively speaking. I mean, it's a very young field.
So
but the
progress
progress is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, if you think about it, it took decades for classical computers to become what they are today.
Sure.
Quantum computing is a much younger field.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing is incredibly promising.
Okay, so let's get to the question that's probably on everyone's mind.
Okay.
Are these quantum computers eventually just going to replace,
That's a great question.
like, my laptop, my smartphone, all that stuff?
So I think that's a common misconception
Okay.
that quantum computers are meant to replace classical computers.
Okay.
They're really not. They're
Okay.
specialized tools designed for specific tasks,
Okay.
like simulating complex molecules
Mhm.
or breaking encryption like we talked about.
So it's not a replacement.
Right.
It's more like a powerful addition
Exactly.
to the computing toolkit that we already have.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You wouldn't use a bulldozer to mow your lawn.
Right.
You use a lawnmower.
Sure.
It's the right tool for the job.
Right.
Same kind of quantum computers.
Okay, that makes sense.
They're the right tool for these specific,
For-
very complex problems.
Yes. So how do you see quantum and classical computing, like, coexisting in the future?
So I envision a future where quantum computers are accessible
Okay.
through the cloud,
Okay.
similar to how we access
Yeah.
powerful servers today.
Okay.
So you wouldn't necessarily need to own a quantum computer
Right.
to benefit from its power.
So we'd essentially be able to tap into
Yeah.
quantum power on demand, just like we use cloud services today.
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. And there are platforms that are already doing this, like IBM, Quantum Experience, Amazon Bracket.
Okay.
These are platforms that make quantum computing accessible
Right.
to researchers, businesses,
Okay.
and over time, they'll become more user-friendly
Gotcha.
and accessible to a wider audience.
So while we might not have personal quantum computers on our desks anytime soon,
Right.
we could still benefit from them.
Absolutely.
It's like having a
Yeah.
quantum superpower at our fingertips.
Yeah. It's a great way to put it.
Before we wrap up part one of this quantum deep dive,
Sure.
I think it's important to touch on this other crucial aspect of this technology, the ethical considerations.
Of course, that's a very important discussion.
Yeah, as with any powerful technology,
Right.
there are potential downsides and risks and
Absolutely.
ethical dilemmas we need to address.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about cybersecurity a little bit, but there's
Yeah, there's a lot more to consider.
much more. So let's delve deeper into those ethical considerations and the broader societal impact
Okay.
of quantum computing in part two of our deep dive.
Sounds good. We've talked about the potential for these quantum computers to just crack our current encryption methods.
Right.
And that's a pretty huge concern.
Yeah.
Imagine like a world where
Yeah.
all of our data, financial transactions, personal information,
Mm-hmm.
even like national secrets
Yeah.
are just vulnerable to hackers
Right.
who have these quantum computers. I mean, that's a scenario.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
It is. It's definitely something we need to be prepared for.
So what steps are being taken to kind of address this threat?
Well, there's a global effort right now
Okay.
to develop what's called post-quantum cryptography,
Okay.
or PQC for short.
PQC.
And this is basically new encryption algorithms
Gotcha.
that is specifically designed to be resistant to attacks from quantum computers.
So it's like a cybersecurity arms race.
It is. It's a race against time
Yeah.
to stay one step ahead.
But you mentioned quantum key distribution.
Right.
Or QKD. How's that different from...
So QKD is really interesting.
Yeah.
It uses quantum mechanics
Okay.
to create a secure communication channel.
Okay.
And it's kind of like having this unbreakable lock-and key
Okay.
where any attempt to kind of intercept or eavesdrop on
Yeah.
the key
Yeah.
would be immediately detected.
So it's not just about making the encryption, like, tougher to crack.
Right.
It's about making it impossible to even attempt to eavesdrop without being noticed.
Exactly. You can't even try to peek
Wow.
without setting off the alarms.
That sounds incredibly secure.
It is. It's theoretically unbreakable.
So is QKD being used today, like in the real world?
It's still pretty early stages.
Okay.
But there are a lot of promising trials going on.
Okay.
Some countries, like China, are already experimenting with QKD networks,
Whoa.
for things like government communications.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
So it seems like quantum computing is really ushering in
it is.
this new era
Yeah,
of cybersecurity with, like,
both threats and solutions.
yeah, unprecedented threats and some really powerful solutions.
Right.
But let's move on to something a little different.
Okay.
Drug discovery.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that quantum computers can revolutionize healthcare.
Mm.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Sure. So think about it this way.
Okay.
Most drugs are designed
Yeah.
to interact with specific molecules
Right.
in the body.
Right.
And with classical computers, it's really difficult
Yeah.
and time-consuming
Okay.
to simulate those interactions.
Okay.
But quantum computers,
Yeah.
because they can handle so much data,
Uh,
they can do these calculations in parallel.
yeah.
They can simulate those interactions with much greater accuracy and speed.
So it's almost like having a virtual lab
It is. It's like a virtual lab.
where you can test the effectiveness of a drug
Yeah,
before you even make it in the real world.
exactly.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it allows us to understand how a drug is going to interact with the body
Right.
at the atomic level.
Okay.
So we can design drugs that are more effective
Uh-huh.
and hopefully have fewer side effects.
Wow.
You know, we're talking about targeting diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, cancer.
So we're talking about like personalized medicine
Yes, absolutely.
on a whole new level.
Yeah,
Like treatments that are tailored to a person's unique genetic makeup.
that's the goal.
That's incredible.
And it's not just about designing new drugs. It's about accelerating the process.
Uh-huh.
I mean, you know, drug discovery can take
Yeah.
billions of dollars.
Right.
Quantum computers can potentially shrink that timeline
Wow.
significant.
So that would be a game changer
It would be huge.
for healthcare, for humanity as a whole.
It would.
Now let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about artificial intelligence.
Yeah. AI.
What makes quantum AI different?
So quantum AI
Yeah.
is really the next evolution
Oh,
of
say-
artificial intelligence.
Okay.
Because classical AI systems,
Yeah.
even the really sophisticated ones,
Huh.
are limited
By the classical computer?
by the limitations of classical computers.
Gotcha.
Quantum AI can leverage the power of quantum computers
Okay.
to do computations that are just impossible for classical computers.
So we're talking about AI systems that can analyze massive data sets,
Yes.
learn from complex patterns,
Yes.
make predictions with accuracy that we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. They could solve problems that are currently impractical
Wow.
for classical computers.
Okay.
You know, we're talking about things like medical diagnostics, climate modeling, financial forecasting.
That's
Yeah.
It's exciting and a little bit daunting at the same time.
It is.
Like, are there concerns about creating AI systems
Yeah, that's a big question.
that are so powerful?
Right, and it's something that's being debated a lot in the AI community.
Right.
You know, as we develop these systems, we need to make sure
Yeah.
that they're aligned with human values.
Right.
And that we have some control mechanisms in place.
So it's not just about building powerful AI.
No.
It's about building responsible AI.
Exactly, responsible AI.
And we need to think about the ethical implications
Absolutely.
very carefully as we go down this road.
Yeah, it's uncharted territory.
This all leads to a broader question, I think.
Okay,
What about the impact on jobs,
right.
the economy?
Sure.
You know, we've already seen a lot of concern about automation and AI
Mhm.
displacing workers.
Yeah.
Will quantum computing accelerate that trend?
It's a valid concern.
Yeah.
You know, technological advancement can disrupt things.
Yeah.
It can disrupt industries,
Yeah.
job markets. We've seen that before.
So what can we do to kind of mitigate
Well,
those negative impacts?
investing in education,
Okay.
the training programs.
Okay.
We need to equip people
Yeah.
with the skills to
Yeah.
adapt and thrive in this new world.
Right. So it's a reminder that technological progress should really serve humanity as a whole,
It should
not just a select few.
it should benefit everyone.
And speaking of the future, how long will it be before quantum computing is mainstream?
That's the million-dollar question.
Will we all have quantum computers
I don't
in
thi-
our homes?
So I don't think we'll have them in our homes anytime soon.
Okay.
These machines are complex.
Right.
They're expensive to build,
Right.
to maintain.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we won't all benefit from it.
So how will it integrate? So
I
makes
think
sense.
the most likely scenario is through the cloud,
Okay.
similar to how we use cloud services today.
Right.
You wouldn't need to own one.
Right.
You could access it remotely,
Okay.
just like you access powerful servers today.
So instead of having a quantum computer
Right.
in our homes, we'd have access to quantum power on demand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are platforms like IBM, Quantum Experience, and Amazon Bracket that are already making this possible.
Right.
And over time,
Yeah.
these platforms will get easier to use.
Right.
And more people will have access.
So quantum computing is poised to transform all these different industries,
Yeah.
like healthcare, finance, materials, science, AI, all that.
Really exciting.
But I'm curious, what's your vision for the bigger impact?
You know, it's hard to predict the future.
Right.
One thing is certain, quantum computing has the potential to reshape our world in ways that we can't even fully imagine yet.
So we're not just talking about incremental improvements.
No.
We're talking about
It's a fundamental shift.
Yeah, paradigm shift.
A paradigm shift.
It's a game change.
It really is.
And the impact on society could be as big as...
As big as the internet.
The internet.
Yeah.
Wow. Or even like the computer itself.
Yeah, it's really hard to overstate.
It's almost like we're on the cusp of a new renaissance. I like a quantum renaissance.
Renaissance.
Where all these scientific discoveries and technological innovations are going to come together.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time.
And we're going to have solutions to all these problems that have been plaguing us for centuries.
Yeah, that's the hope.
It's a future filled with possibilities, uncertainties, but it's definitely a future worth exploring.
It is.
So let's continue our deep dive into this fascinating world.
Sounds good.
In part 3 of this episode. Okay.
Quantum phenomena aren't just theoretical.
Okay.
They're being used to create technologies that used to be pure imagination.
And one of those technologies that keeps coming up is quantum teleportation.
Yeah.
That sounds like Star Trek.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But quantum teleportation is real.
Okay.
It's being demonstrated in labs all over the world.
So we're not beating people across the galaxy yet.
Not yet.
But what exactly are we teleporting?
We're teleporting information.
Okay.
The quantum state of a particle.
Okay.
Not physically moving the particle.
Okay.
But transferring its information to another location.
So hold on.
Yeah.
My brain needs to catch up.
I know, it's a lot.
You're saying we can transmit information without physically moving anything?
Yes.
How is that even possible?
Entanglement, two entangled particles, no matter how far apart, they're linked.
Okay.
You change the side of one, the other changes instantly.
So it's like they're communicating across vast distances.
Like they're connected by some invisible force.
So by entangling particles in different locations, we can create a channel.
A channel.
For teleporting information.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's like sending a blueprint.
A blueprint.
Of a particle's quantum state.
Yeah.
And then it could be reconstructed somewhere else.
Right.
Without actually traveling the distance.
That's it.
That's mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing.
What are the implications of this?
Well, imagine a world with instantaneous communication and completely secure communication. That's the potential of a quantum internet where information is transmitted through entangled particles.
So no lag time.
No lag.
No possibility of interception.
Exactly.
It sounds like a spy movie.
It does, but it's closer than we think.
Wow.
Researchers are working on building the infrastructure right now.
That's incredible.
Yeah, the groundwork for a communication revolution.
So we talked about simulating the universe earlier.
Yeah.
We talked about the scientific side of it.
Right.
But what about the philosophical side?
Ah, good question.
If we can simulate the universe on a computer, does that mean our reality is a simulation?
You've hit on one of the most intriguing questions. Raised by quantum computing. The simulation hypothesis.
Right, I've heard of that.
It's been debated for years. But quantum computing adds a whole new layer.
It's like that scene in The Matrix.
I know exactly what you're talking about, where Neo realizes his reality isn't real.
If we can build a computer powerful enough to simulate the universe, could our reality be a simulation too?
It's a question that might not have an answer. But it definitely makes you think.
It makes you question everything.
It does.
It speaks to how impactful quantum computing is.
For sure.
It's not just about technology.
No.
It's about how we understand reality. What's real? What is our place in all of this?
Big questions.
Huge. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here talking about quantum computing. From how it works to, all the potential applications, all the challenges.
There's a lot to unpack.
And as we kind of wrap up our deep dive here, I want to revisit the ethical considerations we talked about before.
Of course.
Because this technology really has the power to reshape our world. But
it's powerful stuff.
With great power comes
great responsibility.
Great responsibility. Exactly. So, for instance, we discussed how quantum computers could really disrupt cybersecurity. And while we have these solutions like quantum-resistant cryptography, QKD, there's still that risk.
There's always a risk.
That somebody could use this technology for bad.
For sure,
How do we make sure that quantum computing doesn't create, new vulnerabilities
new ways.
or empower cybercriminals?
It's a tough question, and I think it requires a multifaceted approach. We need ongoing research and development of better security measures. We need countries to work together to establish standards and regulations. And we need to educate people about these risks and how to protect themselves.
So it's not just a technology problem.
It's not, no.
It's like
it's a societal issue.
Yeah, a societal problem.
Yeah. We all need to be involved, governments, businesses, researchers, individuals.
Like we all have a role to play.
We do.
In making sure the future is safe and secure.
Yeah.
Okay, so beyond cybersecurity. There's another ethical concern, and we touched on this a little bit before. The impact of quantum computing on AI. So if we create these super intelligent AI systems,
it's a bit
that raises questions about, you know, control, accountability. Are these AI goals?
Yeah, are their goals aligned with ours?
Aligned with human values, right? How do we deal with that?
Yeah, it's a challenge, and I think we need to be having these conversations right now. We need to involve ethicists, philosophers, social scientists, you know, policymakers, everyone.
Everybody needs to be at the table to make sure this goes in the right direction.
And we need to make sure AI remains a tool for good.
Not something that could potentially...
Not something that turns against us.
Threat humanity.
Yeah, that's not the goal.
So it's a reminder that technological progress should really be guided by these human values.
Yeah, not just the technology for technology's sake.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this brings us to a final thought for our listeners today. We're on the edge of this quantum era.
We are.
And it's really important to think about the kind of future we want.
What kind of world?
What kind of world do we want to live in?
Yeah.
Quantum computing gives us this opportunity.
It does.
To address global challenges, you know.
Climate change.
Yeah, all the things.
Yeah.
But it also comes with these risks.
Right.
That we have to think about very carefully.
We have to be responsible.
So it's a future full of promise.
It is, but also
potential peril.
Potential peril, yeah.
But it's exciting.
By being curious, by thinking critically, by talking about these issues.
Yeah, having these conversations.
We can hopefully harness the power of this technology for good, for the betterment of humanity.
To create a future that benefits all.
That's the goal.
That's a great message to end on. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
On this deep dive into quantum computing.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, stay curious.
Stay